Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Rhonda, are you on the line?
I am on the line.
Outstanding. I had a little technical difficulties, but hey, that's what live radio is all about, right?
It is. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, I am super, super excited about this. So, let's get started. I'm going to play my little intro, and we will roll.
Lovely.
We are live here on Transformation Radio. I am your host, Sean Douglas. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all our listeners who are listening from wherever you are. Life Transformation Radio is all about life's transformations and how we got from point A to point B with the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that we have poured into what we are doing now. It is all about our transformations. And my guest today is Rhonda Smith, lifestyle architect and founder of Cosmicsmith Radio and the Movement of Truth. Rhonda supports men and women in shedding the layers of truth and supports them, too, in the journey to reconnect with who they really are deep down inside. Once we are reconnected with our authentic self and know our own truth, we are able to live at a different level. When we show up in our truth without fear of judgment and rejection, we are embodied and whole. From this place of wholeness, we are able to architect the life and relationships that are meant for us. Her incredible background gives her the opportunity to work with the most diverse clientele. You simply cannot package what she can coach. The time is now to step into what you have always been. This is your movement of truth. Rhonda, how are you?
I am so well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
I am super, super excited about this. I was on the mindfulness panel with you and Juliana Ray and Sam Cullinane back in October at the One Life Full Lives conference, and I learned tons just for the 30, 40 minutes that we were sitting there. I learned a ton of stuff, and you are an incredible human being, and I am so happy that you are here.
Thank you so much. I feel like I thank you for that. I don't even know what to say to that, but I do feel the same with you. I love your mission and how you're supporting and helping others in such an impactful, huge way.
Perfect. So I thank you for that as well. So let's start this right off. Why? Why did you decide to do what you do now?
Well, it wasn't really like I just like one day just knew I didn't just like trip into it. My whole life has been a step, each one of them, into who I am now and what I do. I think to some degree, I've always been a coach, and I don't like to use that word anymore because there's such a bad stigma with coaches and overpromising and delivering, that they're going to heal people and that they're going to offer things and massive transformation. So I'm really kind of steering away. But I think in some level, it's sad. It's super sad. I think because it's the age of the guru, right? Which is all. And I'll be very careful with my language. I will be. It is going to be challenging for me, but I will be careful. But it is all crap. I mean, the truth about gurus, if you consider yourself to be a guru, in my opinion, you're really looking for like this level of notoriety, and you are very much in this egoic state where you're very living from a place like that it's not of equality. And, some of the most incredible teachers that I've had in my life certainly don't refer to themselves as teachers. They just refer to themselves as people. And when we can stop following people and take each other by the hand and connect hands and make a circle and share with each other, we all have different knowing and experience. And, for me, like, that has been the biggest thing. I've gone through my transformational period where I was all into the New Age movement and only focusing on what, like, really what I wanted to attract in my life and, just do, become. And I got tired of trying to live my life that way, because within us is a dark side and a light side. And most people feel like the shadow self is this bad thing that needs to be transformed. And it's our greatest teacher. And when we can embrace it and love it and learn from it, and that's been my goal. So in my own life, really having to, I don't want to say overcome, but like work through the things that were given to me on my path so that I could become the woman that I am, really required me going into my shadow side and looking at myself and my behaviors and feeling them very deeply. So, yeah,
awesome.
This transformation, I could go on for hours about this topic, but.
Well, here's the opportunity. So tell me, who was Rhonda Smith? Like, 5, 10, 15 years, like who was Rhonda Smith before you got to this point?
Rhonda Smith has been like every version of every person. I've been into punk rock. I've been into, I've been, I've worked for really amazing companies and corporations all over the world, doing like elite banking. I've done so many different things, or so many versions of myself. And, I've also been a severe drug addict. I've also been a wife. I've also been an amazing caregiver and a tender person that's been loving. And I've been a poet. I've also had a really sexy, more sexual side of myself. And the issue in my life was this internal struggle is I kept trying to be one version of these people. And really what it took was going through what my version of hell or massive transformation was, to realize that I have to let like all of these sides of me out, and they all make up who I am uniquely, and to stop trying to be like everyone else and stop trying to create the one-size-fits-all person, and really step into my truth and say, this is who I am, edgy, kind. I can be articulate. I can be any of these things, but it's all me, and it's all okay.
Absolutely. I heard, when I got into the speaking and coaching, because I wasn't kind of doing it like at high schools, and like I wasn't trying to do it for money a lot of the times, but, starting last year, what I found out was that it is okay to not be okay. Like it's okay to have your down days and have your moments and have your turmoil in your life, and out of tragedy births something amazing, and out of that transformation births sometimes a purpose. Would you agree with that?
Oh, completely. And, there's actually two kinds of transformations. There's usually one of some level of spiritual exploration or spiritual awakeness or awareness, or there's one that comes from deep darkness and having to overcome some level of tragedy. So I completely agree. And, a big part of who I was is I was a woman who, from the age of like 0 to 7, like I suffered with incredible anxiety as a child, and it still was heavily prevalent and is prevalent in my life today. And there was so much shame and guilt about that, and understanding that, I can be a really amazing, successful, productive person, whatever that means. And I still have these things, and I can still be very vocal about them, because there's this belief, I almost said something bad, this crap belief, we'll just keep using that word, of how it's supposed to just like once you get there, like it looks all magical. And that's not the case. I still have to do my work. I still have to use my tools, and I still, there's that part of it as you step into higher levels of yourself and you offer more things. It doesn't, like, you just don't get there and it's like all of a sudden everything's fixed. It just doesn't work that way.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, it was, my life was, I didn't know how to be in my feelings, and I would do anything. And most people on the planet today are like this. The level in which we avoid the truth. I'm creating an offer right now, a program about lying, like the little levels of white lie in our life, how people have no idea how much they lie in a day, or how much it actually affects them. And, you may tell someone, oh, I can't make it, traffic's bad or whatever. And you think, no, that's no big deal. Right. Well, what it does is it prevents us from actually feeling the sting of us being in our truth. And we kind of curb our emotions, and we don't allow ourselves to feel our truth. And then we end up just living in these multiple little levels of, untruth. And it's damaging us. It's killing us.
Wow. I had no idea. I mean, sometimes, like, I don't know, I think that, like, maybe people don't want to get in trouble. Like for teenagers and stuff. I mean, my son will tell a lie. He's like, I just don't want to get in trouble. I'm like, well, dude, you're going to get in more trouble because you lied. Like, integrity.
But it is integrity. But it's like also understanding. It's like you're trying to protect the other person, or you're trying to protect yourself. But like when I live in my truth, and it is not always easy. There's times when I have to be like, oh, did you know this? And they'll be like, oh no, I didn't know that. And then I get to allow myself the time to feel of it. But I had anxiety and depression and addiction and all of these things in my life because I didn't know how to be true to myself, and I didn't know how to be in my truth. And I needed to create, like, we live in a projection of how we think other people think we are. And most people are like, oh, I know who I am. You don't have a clue who you are because you've never given yourself the time. Like, do you really like the Raiders or the 49ers, or were you taught to like them? It's like, when my life crashed and burned and I had to start all over, I had never had a connection to anything spiritual in my life. And it was the first time, what I refer to as source, was the first time I had connection, a universal connection. And I was like, okay, so now I know that, but what do I believe? And it was like me having to navigate those waters. And what food do I really like to eat? And how do I really feel about everything I did in my life? And I was able to create this new foundation of truth for myself, which made it a lot easier to live. And I have to tell you, the family that I chose coming into life is the exact opposite of myself. And I feel like I did that on purpose because it really took some strength in me and strong boundaries, and I had to grow into that woman who can, I have massive love for my family. We're very close, but we don't agree on a lot of things, and that's okay, and we don't have to. And I have a lot of really good friends that we have very, very different and varying degrees of how we do. But, like, we can come together and listen to each other, and we don't have to convince each other to change. We can just simply learn, observe, offer perspective, walk away, still feel good. And it's taken a long time to get there.
And exist together.
And coexist together, yes.
Definitely. Yeah. That's big. Yeah, absolutely. If any of the listeners out there want to dial in and ask Rhonda a question, because this is a live show, it's 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. So looking back, Rhonda, what can you pinpoint when your transformation started or how it began?
Oh my. I've had lots of rock bottoms in my life, right? So I am a person who had to go so far down the rabbit hole that I became the hole. So I can say that each one was really necessary for every lesson, every relationship, every bad decision, every decision has maintenance and consequences. That's a quote by one of my coaches, Mark Yagi, and it's so true. The biggest transformation happened for me. I had a really successful career in Chicago, was making incredible money and just gotten married. Then we moved back. We moved to Boston, and then we moved to California. And I came home, and I was really starting to be unhappy in my life and the decisions I'd made. And I had all I wanted to do was be married, and I wanted to be a Mrs. And I didn't have a partner that was equally met. So I started to make really, 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 really bad decisions at that point and lost my job when the economy went bad and ended up becoming a severe drug addict for 4.5 years, almost homeless, and tried to commit suicide during that time. And, none of that was enough. None of that was simply enough on its own. So one day at the end of it, I found myself in a hotel room with my little wiener dog, and I was lost, and I would have rather probably have died than come home to my family, which was always available. But I screamed into a mirror for God to help me, not really knowing what that meant, never really having a connection, having a lot of false beliefs of what that meant. And the next morning I woke up with this idea of oneness and connection, and I threw my drugs in a garbage can bathroom, there's a lot more to that story. But and I came home to my family and began the journey of self. And, removed toxins and chemicals from my life. I got healthy and lost weight. Because you gain weight with long-term drug use. Most people think you stay skinny, but you don't. Your body ends up creating so much cortisol because it's just beyond stressed out, and it's not really being fed. So usually, I'd gained 50 pounds, which is a lot of weight for my body. So, and then I stumbled across this community called One Life Fully Lived, and I went to their event. It was $25 to go, and I had to borrow the money because I still was not supporting myself in any way. And the event changed my life. I left there 3 feet off the ground, and for the first time in my life, thinking that, I could actually live a legendary life. And then the journey began. And for me, I'm not really sure why still, and I'm so, so incredibly grateful, but I have been provided and blessed with the most incredible coaches and people and mentors in my life. I mean, literally every time I would cross the threshold and push my way into something new, some amazing person kind of provided me their time or support to help me. I mean, I have a man who runs a very, very successful hedge fund has been my coach for a couple of years, and his knowledge and wisdom in business has been foundational. I have Neil Godfrey as a mentor, and she's broken every glass ceiling there has been for women. So I've been so incredibly blessed. Yeah, just the communities that you and I both belong to, and the people that we have access to. Yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah, my journey kind of started, not kind of, it did. It started, in Philly, because I last year in May, I was like, man, I kind of want to, I really want to be a speaker, but I was at this point giving up because I had maybe a couple paid ones, not real good, in a high school gym somewhere, I'm like, man, I want to get big. Why is this not happening for me? What am I doing wrong? But when I'm not getting paid, I'm in crowds of, 500 to almost 1,000 people not getting paid, but getting paid, I'm in a crowd of 30. I'm like, what is going on? It's almost the opposite, So I go to One Life Fully Lived. I'm like, look, I need some inspiration. I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I need something, and I'm literally about to give up and just go to work, just do what everybody else does, And then I met Juliana Ray, and John Vroman, and Tim Rode, and Matt Aitchison, and everybody, Brian Rocha, and you, and everybody. Oh my gosh, all these magnificent people that are you better not give up. You better just take heed of what we're doing here and just be inspired. And then I took what I learned at the Philly conference, and I came back to North Carolina, and here I am on the other side, telling everybody else to not give up. You know what I mean? So yeah, One Life has a way of inspiring the uninspired.
Well, it gives you the idea that you can create a magnificent life. You can have it too, and it doesn't have to come from traditional sources of, finding your way. If you're not into school and then, tripping your way into college and then trying to complete education that's just outrageously expensive. And I'm not saying that's the path for everybody, but I know that, a big part of One Life's mission is that you don't have to go to college to be successful.
Right.
So, yeah, it's such an interesting perspective. And, I got the opportunity to work with for 3 years and run the community, which was just such an honor to get to know everybody. And to get to help inspire and share my story of transformation, because, One Life was really the birth of all of that. And such belief. Tim Rode, he's like my annoying brother, and he feels the same way about me. We love each other, and we drive each other crazy, and it's this beautiful relationship. We live in the same town, and we had a snowball fight in front of our post office box at Christmas. So just a really interesting relationship, but I'm forever grateful to him for, seeing some light in me and helping me, ignite that.
Perfect.
And for letting me knock on his door every day and cry that I didn't know what it was I was meant to do, and until I finally grew into the person who knew. Yeah.
Yep. So through that transformation, you're at a point where, you got married and everything was supposed to be great, and then it kind of wasn't great, and then just bad decisions and everything. Just everything, just melting pot of everything, and finally ends up in that hotel room, just the mindset that is going on is like, what do I do with my life, right? I mean, oh my gosh. So your whole transformation of where you are now, going to One Life, getting into the coaching, finding coaches, because I found out that coaches need coaches too. So you found all these magnificent people and turned your life around. Yeah. What was the best part about it? Was it the coaches? I mean, what was the best part about your journey and your transformation?
Well, that's interesting because it pretty much happened in the last, 5 or 6 months. But, I had all this support, and I joined just incredible organizations and went to a coaching program, an international coaching program for women, and really put investment into my life, which just kind of magically manifested. I am not a fan of that word. It's very new age, but it did at that time. That's where I was at, magically manifest for me to have the money to be able to do all of this. And in doing so, I did not know who the hell I was. I had no real idea who I was. And I created a brand, and I created a business, and I created what everyone supported me in to help me find and figure out, and it never worked. I mean, I sold coaching and I offered transformation stuff, but for me, like that, Love Your Big Life was never who I was meant to be. Even looking at the photos, like I literally wore clothes that looked good on film. They weren't who I was. So, and I never wore them again.
Right.
So I had to go through a little bit of a dark time and that's when I started working with a shaman and doing ceremony, to really figure out who I was, because there were things that were blocking me from being okay with the fact that I am very different than a lot of people. And in doing so, what emerged was...
That's what we love about you. That's what we love about you.
Well, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that, because my whole life I didn't think that would be the case. But, 3.5 years ago, I bought this domain for Cosmicsmith, and I had some coaches, I won't say who were like, I would never buy anything from a Cosmicsmith. And I'm like, okay. And I listened. And now, I finally let that emerge. And I created, obviously, my radio show, my podcast, and the brand. And I had to grow into the woman who could literally offer that brand. And I'm actually removing myself from a lot of communities and stuff that I've been really integral in, because it really isn't what I'm about. It's not in alignment. And our planet has incredible energy coming to it right now to kind of wake us up, to wake humanity up to what's really happening. And there's intense levels of feminine, creative, fluid energy coming. And it's not just for women, it's for men too. And my true calling is really to serve men and to helping them step into being a feeling man. And it's okay to have feelings and how to navigate that after so much time in just the masculine. So I'm really pulling out of some of these communities and being in my own space, because I finally really feel very clear about who I am, what I'm supposed to do, and to be in my integrity. It's like I don't want to constantly say, I'm not going to do that, or I don't agree with that. I literally just need to remove myself, which I have done. So,
right.
So the Cosmicsmith brand emerged, and so now is the time I'm the most proud of, because I'm finally past the level of codependency, in the sense of needing large communities to offer that support I need. I'm able to support myself and create, I don't know. Yeah, so I do want to share this, because this was such a pivotal piece. Last October, I did go to One Life, and I am really good friends with Christopher Lochhead. I'm so blessed. And he wrote a book called Play Bigger. Mm-hmm. And it was really exactly what I needed for my life and my business, for me to finally have that puzzle piece that was go be who you are. Quit trying to fit in and, gobble up everyone. It's I feel like we all have these big wooden spoons, and we're just feed me more information, feed me how to do things, feed me tools, feed me strategies, feed me lessons. And I am done. I'm putting down the proverbial wooden spoon. I am done feeding myself, and I'm ready to share. I'm ready to create, and I'm ready to offer. But I don't want to do it in a way I'm jamming my agenda down anyone's throat. My message is one of truth. How to show up. I don't believe that love is built on trust. I believe love is built on truth. Okay. And when two people can show up in a relationship together and they're this is who I am, really, this isn't who I think you want me to be, but this is really who I am, and this is really what I desire. That is a tipping off place to start a conscious relationship. And that's just one thing, It's also in business,
that's
how we
amazing.
do business. And yeah, so it's It's interesting. I'm grateful. I have
Absolutely. For those of
gratitude.
you who don't know who Christopher Lochhead is, oh my God, Christopher Lochhead is amazing, and the knowledge that this guy possesses, and the fortitude, and man, yeah, you got to go out and get the book Play Bigger. It is amazing. And when I heard him, I mean, I was like taking like 3 pages of notes, like I was trying to write down like everything. And what was crazy was that he was talking about, you know, everybody, all they do is they have a company or a brand, and then they want to push product, and that's what they do, and that's all they do. And there's not like that third wheel that he talks about, like where's your space, what is your category, what is your, you know what I mean? So you have to have all three to be successful. And I looked at that and was like, man, that's like every coach and speaker everywhere, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
They
totally.
always like I have product, buy my products.
Well, and that's why coaches aren't getting on podcasts now. Like, it's interesting because, like, they think you're going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever
Yep.
want to sell anything. And it's like, what do you
ever.
sell? What are you offering? What's your offer? I don't do that. It's never felt good to me. Like, what I've noticed is I keep putting out content, and each day I'll say, what do I want to share? And I don't say, like, from my heart center, because that's also New Age. It's very much this. When we connect in our deep pelvic floor, which we all have that ability, and our heart and our brain, that is the triad. It's a connection. It's this massive connection. And when you're coming from that place of being feeling, thinking, because right now we live in a world where we're either feeling or we're thinking. And when you can come into a place where you're doing it from both, you offer something different. And simply, I'm going to offer content. And every content I share, I want to offer a perspective, a shift, a tool, or some level of change. If that inspires somebody, amazing. If they decide they want to work with me, amazing. I always put myself out there. I do retreats. I do lots of stuff. I don't want to come across like, oh, I'm going to do this launch, and I've done them, and it never felt right for me. But it's like, simply, I want to be in your life. I want to be at some level of your friend. I want us to have a friendship. It isn't about me just coming into your life and offering strategy and coaching and like this real cold thing. I mean, I've coached massive people in one life. I've coached their entire families over time. Like, we have a relationship, and they come to me for different things, and that's the business. That's my business model.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, with that, we're going to take a call, and
Fabulous.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm so excited.
Hello.
You are
good. How are you?
Transformation Radio with Sean and Rhonda. How are you?
Hey, Sean. Hey, Rhonda. How you guys doing?
Awesome.
Doing well.
This is me, Truck Mike, and I just want to say I love your show. It's you know, if I could come out, I have a little addiction to masturbation, and my masturbation is just hog wild. I just can't stop doing it. I can't keep my hands off my pee-pee, and I'm just.
Yeah, I'm going to end that call. So
Yeah. Well, I was
anyway.
actually going to say, you know, addiction is a symptom of trauma, so you got to deal with the trauma and stop looking at the addiction. But I appreciate
kind
that.
of a family show, you know.
Yeah.
No problem. You never know. So anyway, so we'll get back to this. So what was the worst part about it all? And I screened that call too. That was weird. There was not part about it. Anyway, so what was the worst part about it though? Your transformation and everything. What was the worst part about it?
Well, I mean, there were stages, right? So, like, in the beginning, it was wanting everything to happen. Like, I was just, like, once I knew, like, or once trying to figure out, like, what it was was not happening fast enough. And I made that part so brutal on myself, like, really realizing my purpose, because I like, resisted it all and was angry that it wasn't happening. So the biggest part for that in me was, like, I wasn't the person I needed to be to make the decision. Like, every minute of all those days I had to grow, and I needed all of those experiences to finally make that. So that was a really challenging time. I mean, I've laid on the floor crying about landing pages and just different things, like learning, going through the process of the academy program I went into. There were like 257 women, and 27 of us graduated. So it was really a tough program. It was a year. Yeah, and you know, because of my coach, I graduated. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have. And, you know, that was very challenging, lots of growth, stepping into levels of myself. Then working with a shaman and really starting to understand, like, having to sit in my pain. Like, so I've had a long history with addiction, which I don't believe addiction's a disease. I believe it's a symptom of trauma, and I believe there's trauma stored in the body. So when you want to get the trauma out, there's lots of ways to do it, right? Drums, dancing, there's different modalities, but you have to be able to feel it. So learning how to sit in my discomfort and growing in my business, in my life, in my love, in everything, that's probably been the biggest piece. But that's like been the most pivotal piece of like that's my truth. And now I can sit in my pain, and it's not enough to make me go out and eat 100 Starbucks muffins or, go drink a bunch or anything. And for me, I can't say I've healed much. I've healing in many things, but the addiction piece, I mean, I've spent like $150,000 in like over 3 years shopping. I had a huge shopping addiction, and I don't like to shop anymore. It's kind of weird. And if I have a glass of wine, I have like a half a glass of wine. So it's very interesting how that piece in me is really different now. So that's probably been the biggest one.
Wow. It's so incredible that we've dealt with kind of the same things. And, because I wrote a book called Decisions to Overcome Self-Defeating Behaviors, and I specifically talk about one of the self-defeating behaviors being that you either compare your life to someone else's or your journey to someone else's, or you think you're the only one, and then you're paralyzed by that. Like, you're paralyzed by the fear that you are the only one feeling this certain type of way, and you're the only one that has ever dealt with this addiction or this, whatever, and you can't overcome it. And our life, like, I battled with suicide, and I battled with addictions of alcohol and all that, and it's just so amazing. And I love talking to people that maybe for my own vindication, like, cool, I'm not the only one, feel better now, I'm not the only one dealing with, But
if you want to feel much better, look at every single person on the planet. We're addicted to television. We're addicted to being fed information, especially like in our New Age movement. We'll look at people that are, I don't want to say they're further along, but they're very much aggressive about wanting a different level of life. They are so addicted to being fed. And it's like, I could take a couple people, let's say out of one life, that are just successful. And I was like, I would love to stick you in a cabin by yourself for 30 days with no books and only paper and see what you create.
That'd be very interesting.
It would be very interesting because they would have that process of like, oh my gosh. And then the feeding would, like, they would finally be full. And then the creation would come. And, that's all addiction, and just our, like, coffee, how we eat. I mean, I still find myself, like, I'll go make tea. When I have to do something for work, I have this tendency to want to eat or to want to go make tea or to have to go to the bathroom. And I've really understood, like, the level of distraction I do before I go to do something is just incredibly intense. And having my tool, all of us, having my tools, essential oils, all of these different things, timers, whatever, to work through that and to understand that level of myself. But, the whole world is addicted to everything that's a distraction.
I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Especially like cell phones and like video games and like all that stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Completely.
So along the way,
and we're addicted to growing.
Because I don't think we could do this alone. Yes. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Addicted to growing. Like, well, I mean, I feel like there has to be a stopping point. Like at some point you have to stop consuming and start applying, because then you ever heard of the penguin effect, where you learn so much, and the things that you learned long time ago is kind of like falling off a cliff, like penguins. There's or like the coin game. You put coins in, and then they're kind of built up on a shelf, and then after a while you put more coins in, and coins will fall off the shelf. Like, I feel like our brains are like that. Like, our neuroplasticity isn't so much that you retain tons and tons and tons of information. It's just so that you learn new information and can apply the information, and the other stuff just kind of falls away, right?
I think I do believe that, but I do believe it depends on the mind, because I've had seeds planted in my youth that are just starting. I'm like, oh, I remember learning this like I don't know, 30 years ago. So it's interesting,
Oh,
like
wow.
the things. And I notice the more that I meditate, I don't drink any level of water with any fluoride. Like I'm very specific about my water. I'm very specific about the container I drink water out of because of the chemicals and toxins. I have like no chemicals and toxins that I digest in my food or any of the products I put on my skin or the things that are in my home. And I notice like I am learning at exponential rates. Like I cannot believe the stuff I can retain and know and like where it's coming from. And I have friends that are reading books and literally I almost feel like intuitively I'm getting the information because like I'll have an idea and they're like, that was in a book I just read. And I was like, oh, tell me about the book. And I'm like literally like not reading the book now. So it's interesting to see how the brain, when it is actually healthy and isn't covered in chemical and toxin, like what it likes to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we can't do this alone. You know, we have to have like coaches and people that are in our, like John Vroman calls it, in our front row, or what I call our board of directors. We have to build out our board of directors, right? So for me, you know, in the past couple of years, since like 2014, you know, religion has been a huge, you know, not like Lutheran, Methodist, whatever, but just like a simple belief in God. Like that's been huge for me. Who has been your biggest influencer in your journey?
Wow, that's such a question.
We ask the hard questions
on
this show.
I mean, who's been my biggest supporter has been like my family, my father, my mother, by far. Like my father he's my best friend. He listens to my total craziness and like absorbs, and we're like a huge age difference apart. But yeah, so but in regards to influencer. Yeah, I almost don't want to say this person just because they'll be angry at me. But I'm going to say.
Was it a coach? I mean, was it a?
Well, so
you don't have to say the name. Was it like a coach that you
had?
No,
I have. I'm going to say a couple, and I would like to say a name because I think that they deserve recognition. But
sure.
you know, Mark, I've had the pleasure of having Mark Yagi as a coach for like 2 years, and Mark he reads like 2 books a week, and he runs an amazingly successful hedge fund, and he has guided me in business and taught me things about myself and helped me break the pattern of not being a finisher in my life and doing all these things. It's been paramount. Another person is my best friend, Scott Pryor, and we've only been friends for about 1.5 years, but he has taught me more about the truth of life and what's real and how to live in my truth and, you know, the facade we live in love and how codependent love is and all of these different things about relationship and people and myself. So him, definitely. And then, I have a healer who's a friend. His name is Jeff, and he is the one who taught me about gurus and not to follow them. Because at that point I was still very much gobbling at the guru. So literally, I mean, I could probably name 30 people, but yeah, I would say those 3 have just been, paramount. It's interesting though, because it's been mostly men. And I've been questioning that quite a bit lately. I every time I seek some level of teacher or someone, it's been a man, and I very much desire and have been calling in for like a year for like this. I'm envisioning like an older woman. I don't know if you know who Starhawk is. She's an amazing author. I was like something like Starhawk, but I'm looking for this wisdom because I'm way more connected to the mystical version of like men than I am the mystical version of women. And I want to tap into that creative fluid more within myself. So yeah, it's been mostly men, but
that's awesome.
Looking for women.
So I think I already know the answer to this question, but you talked a little bit earlier about, you know, where your transformation is, and it's only been about, 5 or 6 months, as the best part or whatever. So, I mean, do you feel like your transformation is coming to an end, or do you feel like it's complete, or we just never stop growing?
Oh, my gosh, no. I think that the more I learn, the less I know. And the more I open myself up to the truth of life, I realize how much I really don't know. Yeah, like I'm like, oh my gosh, I really don't know anything, and I'm okay with that. Like I think by the end, I want to get to the point. Like, I think when we stop learning, we die, right? So when we get to the end, I'm gonna be like, I know nothing. Like I know absolutely nothing. Like there's nothing I know, and that's okay. But like, before I really felt like I was in this space and I was awake. I was enlightened, which, boy, enlightened isn't the same thing that it used to be to me. And it was very interesting. And now I realize, like, I have so much to learn, and I have amazing wisdom and information to share too. But yeah, it's an ongoing thing forever for me.
Oh yeah. I was on a call with Ben Catania about 2 episodes ago, and he had mentioned a story that he kind of tells when he's speaking about resilience and risk and all that stuff. And he was saying, he's like, a 90-year-old cello player was still playing, and he says he was asked, why do you keep playing, man? You're 90 years old. And he's like, I think I'm just now getting good. But he's been playing since he was like 14. So, I mean, you're always growing. I think you have to keep, and you're always failing forward, and you always have to keep moving forward. My friend Mike says any step is a step. Like, any step is a step. Like, you have to keep going. That's pretty powerful. I would definitely agree with that. So, if you're not done transforming, then where are you headed now? New adventures, businesses, family? Like, what's going on with you now?
So I'm launching, if that's a word, if I'm really actually doing that. So my new website's available and up and ready for Cosmicsmith.com. So I'm plugging myself shamelessly. Just go check it out. Check out my radio show, which I think you'll probably end up doing this down the road, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Check out Cosmicsmith Radio. It's a very interesting conversation. Definitely not mainstream. Just some different ideas on how to heal, holistic healing, medicinal medicine, plant medicine, embodiment. I have some really cool guests on there. So more of that. There's still something that something that deeply desires, like way down deep inside of me, to go to Peru for some training and some time in the jungle. So that will definitely be something that is in the works. Immediately, there's so many things. It just really offering this movement of truth. So helping people understand that we have to get to a place where we live in our truth. Yeah. So that's really my thing. Awesome.
So with that, if anybody has a PG-rated question, you can call in at 657-383-1109, 657-383-1109. So if you had to go back, would you actually change anything or do anything different?
Excuse me. Well, there must be something to that. I needed to get that out. I believe that life with the lessons we need to grow or change. And for me, I know, for me, I know that I require deep discomfort and a deep level of dissatisfaction to be able to create change. So, can you ask the question again? I'm so sorry.
No, if you had to go back, right? If you had to go back, would you change anything or just do anything different?
I wouldn't, because all of those things were lessons I needed. And although they may have been brutally challenging or hard or just really something that had to wake me up to start all over again, it was something that I deeply needed.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Because, we've watched a lot of, time travel shows and Back to the Future. You know what I mean? Like if you change one thing, then it changes, a whole lot of things. And I'm afraid that if I was to change something, then I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I learned or had the experience that I experienced. And I think that everything that we're going through is preparing us for everything that we're going to. So, yeah, I haven't yet met a person that'd be like, oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't change, everybody says that, I would never change anything, or maybe I wouldn't hurt this one person, but other than that, I'm good, so awesome.
Well, it's so interesting. So if you follow, if you follow quantum mechanics or quantum physics or any level of quantum thinking, that depending upon your beliefs, so it's different for everybody. My belief is that we reincarnate, and my belief is that there is the possibility. There's endless possibilities to every situation. Every scenario is available. It's just which we have the option of choosing, right? That's the one thing that humans have, is we have choice. We can choose something different for ourselves. And so let's just say that each of our reincarnations were happening simultaneously, which, because if time isn't linear, if we're not following a linear scale, okay, so that would allow for time travel. That's just an interesting idea. So versions of me is happening, and maybe out there in different quantum universes and multiverses, that maybe I made different decisions, and I'm living out those situations. I don't know. We don't know, you know. So it's just interesting to learn what we can, use discernment, obviously, when something comes. But, like, yeah, I would never change that because, obviously, this is how it's supposed to be.
Awesome. I love it. Love it. So with no one's help, right? With no one's help, what was the best resource that you stumbled on or that you found during your journey?
Meditation, connection to source. Yeah,
Meditation.
that time.
Okay.
Yeah. Understanding, and then taking it a level further with Philip Shepard's work of dropping our consciousness into our pelvic floor when we're meditating, like understanding like that's the chalice of life is within our bodies, and understanding how to connect with that piece. And that is when, holy moly, just incredibleness has come in thinking and connection. And that was something that I desired on my own and sought out myself on my own with no help.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what would be the best resource that you have used during this whole transformation process? What was the best, or who gave you the best resource that you used?
Well, without going too deep with this, I work with plant medicine, and that means essentially, like, if you believe this, plants have spirits. So when you understand how to connect with that, I would say that's been probably the most informative. Plants are very, very old. The wisdom that comes with that availability is a billion years farther past intelligence than we could even comprehend. Let's go on a really minute level with this and look at lavender essential oil even. We'll just go really, really small with this. But when you work with lavender and you start to begin like all of the healing properties that come with just this one plant, and the more you work with it, that you can actually call that healing in when you're not with the oil, is pretty powerful. So, you know, we have
that's
all of
awesome.
It is awesome. So we have all these receptors in our body, tons of different plant receptors in our body that are really set up to do this. Like, we have already integrated with a lot of these plants and starting to understand how they show us how to use our bodies. We have so much capability in our bodies that we don't even understand. And plants have begun to show me like what availability I have as a human.
That's amazing. So here's your chance. Shameless plug. You can plug whatever you want. Your radio, which you've already did, a quote, whatever you're doing, shameless plug, go.
Stop living like everyone else. Stop pretending to be everyone else, and finally allow yourself to be that person you are when you're dancing in your underwear around your house and you don't care. Like, that is who you're meant to be on a public level. That is who you're meant to be in life. And when you can step into that truth of you, like, the gifts that come are just immense. And if you follow my work, you follow my radio show, or you want to join the Movement of Truth, which is on Facebook, come on over and join the movement to finally be the person that you've always been inside and reconnect with all of your gifts.
Amazing. Yes. Amazing. So as we wrap up, what do you think, if you had to give somebody, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. Like, I mean, it was like, I was just going to ask you too, like, what would you say to somebody to motivate them? But you already did an amazing job of that. What is something that motivates you?
Okay, yeah.
Please do. I'm taking notes right now.
No, totally.
I'm writing things down.
You know, like, what if you said, and you know, this isn't my choice for relationship. This is just an option, but this is just to give you an example. Like, what if you knew in your heart that you didn't want to be in a relationship forever, but that you really were interested in being in a relationship? And now, again, this isn't what I would choose for my life, but this is just an option. What if you showed up in that relationship and said, I think you're amazing. I think you're totally amazing, and I would love to get to be in relationship with you, but I don't know if it's going to be forever. Now, you're risking a really big chance of that person saying, yeah, I'm not interested in that, which is the truth. And instead, we have all of these couples coming together, and they're hiding things like that. They're hiding their truths. And this is just like, you can also do this in business. Like, you're coming to the table as an employee and you're hiding that you maybe have anxiety, or you're hiding these things. And like, what if we created a world where we didn't have to hide, and we could simply show up as we are, who we are, and we had the skills and the tools to be able to be like, I totally understand that that's not for you, and be okay with it, and be able to cope, and be able to, but like think about how different, totally, and think about like no judgment. Like, I don't get to judge you because that's how you feel, and that's your truth. My truth is not, and like, we've been so programmed that there's like a truth, and there's right or wrong. Right or wrong doesn't exist. I mean, what's right for me is not necessarily right for you. And a lot of
or
people
my
are
truth,
sick,
your truth, and the middle truth.
Well, right, and like, my truth is meant for just me. And it's okay, and it's like, I don't need people to understand it. I don't need people to accept it. Like, I like to have people in my life that allow me to be in it and don't require that I change or don't push it on me. But it's like, think about how different the planet would be. Like, if we all showed up and were like, this is who I really am. Look at our government, however that may be. I don't care what side you're on. It's not about that. If we all showed up and said, this is really what's going to happen, what's really in the best interest of everybody, it would, like, we would have a world that didn't have oceans that were polluted. We would have a world where there weren't people that were starving. We would have a world where everybody had a home. It's different, and it's like, education would be different, and access to education. Like, the whole thing could be different if we simply stopped our little white lies, stopped not being in our truth, stopped showing up and pretending to be something we're not or someone we're never going to be, and we finally started being ourselves.
Yep, you said it, nailed it. I mean, the world would be so much different, because I have to think that people show up authentically. But so I'm just reminded of what you said earlier. Like, some coaches just don't go on the podcast, or the podcasters don't want them on there because they're always pushing product. Or they're, I'm so genuine and I'm this, but it's all about the dollar. And I wonder how many times somebody was trying to be authentic to me, and I thought it was authentic, but they were really just kind of all about themselves and their bottom line and what their mission is. And because I think as coaches and even as speakers, you're there to build a connection, and you're there to build a rapport, and also to motivate, inspire, and to find out that that's not the case in your mind. You're just there to collect a paycheck or whatever. Like, I think it's the ulterior motives that really make life just difficult for some people. Like, if I have a coach, I want them to invest in me as much as I invest in them. Not just, okay, I'm done with you now because I paid you and whatever.
Well, and like, I have 3 rules that you have to agree to, 3 things that have to be congruent for us to work together. And one of them is that you have to want this for yourself more than I want it for you, because usually I want it for you more than you can imagine. And, I think that there's this store-bought version across the globe that the dream, American, North American, whatever country you live in, dream is to have like copious amounts of money, success, bling, homes, cars, all that stuff. And it's like the strive is for the money. The strive is for the dollar. And there are people that, don't have that. But when I step back and I'm like, I would like financial security so that I don't have to worry about money, right? So I had to change my relationship with money. That's not about, something magically falling in my lap, or I'm creating some vision board and everything's going to change in my life. You have to go deep into your ancestral lineage and look at like how money's been dealt with. You have to go deep to change your money habits. And when is enough enough? When is striving and becoming finally enough? And you're like, I just want to serve. So my monstrous ideas my entire life of Gucci bags and cars and all this ridiculousness, like when I finally did achieve that in levels of my life, I was never happy. And what makes me happy is having security and not worrying, and having time with the people I love, and having some level of travel in my life, and having some options and choices, and not being in worry. But it's about serving. Exactly. It's about helping and supporting. And it's not, I am not here to heal you. I am never your guru, right? Like that's the whole point of this is I'm here to support others just like others supported me in learning how to support themselves. And that's what it's about. And like, I don't need millions of dollars. I do desire financial security, but I don't need this like striving of becoming all the time. Like I want a different level. I want to serve. And that was
That's
not
awesome.
always the case for me. That took time to have that happen. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would be your call to action when people come and, like you said, you had those 3 things, right? So give a call to action, whether it be, like you said, live your truth or, like I tell people all the time, like, dude, like you live your brand. Like whatever your brand is, if it's whatever values you have is honesty, loyalty, all that stuff, hard work, ethics, whatever it is that you strive to do or be every day, you need to live your brand. So you're kind of the same way, like just living your truth, like just be who you are. Like there's like break down the walls, pull the facade down, just stop playing the games. Like who are you at your core? Which is kind of one of the things that we talked about in the My One Life Roadmap that Tim and the team created. Was like, who am I at my core? And you live that out every day. So what would be your definitive, like you must do this, like what is your call to action?
Well, the first step is we need to learn how to hold space for other people. So when somebody's going through discomfort, dis-ease, we need to learn how to hold space for each other. And you and I both have, and I'll do my best to make this quick, you and I both have a big mission to help people that deal with suicide, that deal with suicidal thoughts. And like, It is awesome to post this 800 number suicide, it's awesome, these things, but simply most people that live in or dance in the desire of suicide, it's because they need someone to talk to. And if we always just deviate them to a programmed way of having it go. So if the call goes bad, they're put into some level of help for 3 days, they're medicated, it's numbed. They're put on some level of numb, and it's not really worked through. And this isn't the case for everybody, and I'm not saying that there aren't people that don't need that help. What I'm saying is I have a friend I can call, and I'm like, I'm literally dancing in hell. I'm dancing in my suicidal thoughts. Now, she knows now, because I had to teach her, I'm not going to go into my life, but I'm having deep feelings that are very intense for me. And she listens. And she holds space, and she doesn't say anything, and she doesn't offer anything, and she doesn't, have to create some shift or change. But in that process, she's had to learn how to be uncomfortable. And that is the first step to being in our truth. So at first she's like, I can't do this. And she literally couldn't hold space for me. So a few days later we talked and I'm like, I don't need to. She's like, it's uncomfortable. And I'm like, I know. It's okay though. So we did it a couple of times at different things. And finally she was like, at the end of the conversation, she's like, that must be so hard. And that's all she said. And that's all I needed. And then I moved on with my life and the whole thing was fine. But it's like, so it's okay to be uncomfortable. And that really helps you step into your truth because it is not comfortable being in your truth. And holding space for others is the first step. The second step is start to stand up for yourself. Stop your little white lying. And if you do white lie, ask yourself, why did I do it? What was the intention? It's because I didn't want to hurt the other person, or was it because I really didn't want to feel what I had to feel?
Sometimes we just need to be heard and feel like we're being heard.
And seen and acknowledged. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. This was so much fun. Oh, my gosh. This was amazing. And I've got a ton of notes. And I was writing things down. And if you want to know more about what Rhonda Smith is doing, absolutely go to Cosmicsmith.com or follow her at Facebook.com/Cosmicsmiths. Rhonda, thank you for your time. It has been an honor and a privilege to have you on my show. You are an amazing human being, and I wish you the best.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. You're impeccable, and I look forward to co-creating more amazingness with you in the future.
Yes, absolutely. To all the listeners out there, remember, life's transformations happen all the time when we least expect it. And just remember, live your brand. Have a great night and enjoy your life.